Hi, everyone. It's Kristan Hawkins, and welcome to this episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. Today, we're still in season 3, but we're not going to be having a conversation with a guest or a friend about having a difficult conversation. No, I want to talk to you about the difficult conversations that are happening in Washington, D.C. right now. And I only have a few minutes because I'm in between meetings. Welcome to my life. But I want to give you a rundown on 3 things you need to know about right now. All right. Number 1, I'm going to start with a positive today. And I know that's very hard to do sometimes with everything that's happening in Washington, D.C., but let me start with a positive. So earlier this week, and I guess, this didn't really happen in Washington, D.C., but it's still in the political realm, so I think it counts. Earlier this week, judges in the Sixth Circuit allowed a bill that was passed in 2017 in Ohio to stand. Now, this bill bans abortions when a diagnosis of Down syndrome or a suspicion of Down syndrome is present. So it says, look, you can have an abortion for many reasons, but you cannot choose and say you're having an abortion because you want to eliminate another human being with a different genetic code than you. It bans discriminatory abortions. As a mom of 2 children with cystic fibrosis, fatal genetic diseases, this was a huge victory. And I think it was a huge victory for the pro-life movement because this isn't about challenging, a viability standard or saying, late-term abortions shouldn't be allowed, but first trimester, earlier abortions should be allowed. This bans abortion on a specific type of human being and calls abortion for what it really is: eugenics, discrimination, the strong hurting the weak. So I actually think this is a significant case. Of course, Planned Parenthood, the late-term abortion facility there in Cleveland, preterm, Southwest Ohio, Women's Med, all of the abortion vendors in the state of Ohio sued as soon as this bill was signed into law in 2017, saying that it was unfair, that women, couldn't say that Down syndrome was the reason they were choosing to end the life of their child. But I think it's significant. I mean, would you want to be on the side of advocating that these beautiful children with Down syndrome, of somebody who has a different genetic code than you, should be killed simply because of their DNA? I mean, it is a losing argument for the abortion industry, increasingly a losing argument for the abortion industry, especially as our society reaches this, max inclusiveness, diversity that we're all going for. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago or a year or so ago, Target announced that one of their models, their children models for their clothing, was going to be a child with Down syndrome. And then the Gerber baby was a baby who had Down syndrome. And so our society has come a long way of being inclusive towards individuals who simply have, an extra chromosome. I think this is a losing argument for the abortion industry. I think they know it's a losing argument. They don't want to be very loud, very vocal about their support for abortions for children who have Down syndrome. But their ideology of calling for abortions whenever, wherever, taxpayer funded, is forcing them to defend this. And I think this is a very good position to make them be in, to show the world just how callous, just how extreme the abortion industry is. So I'm very excited for this law in Ohio that's been upheld by the Sixth Circuit. That means, other states will probably attempt to pass other abortion discrimination bans. I'm hopeful for the day very soon that there'll be a bill that will ban, abortions in cases of cystic fibrosis. Just like Down syndrome, it's about a 90% abortion rate when diagnosed in utero. I'm actually here in Arizona right now. There's a bill they're trying to do that's similar, that would ban abortions because of prenatal diagnosis, because someone's genetic code is different than yours. So I'm really hopeful that this bill here passes in Arizona. All right, so that was the good news. Prepare for the bad news. Well, actually, you know what? Go in order. I'll go into moderately good news, okay? And then I'll go to the really bad news. Moderately good news. So, Born Alive Infant Protection Act, as you all know, back in the early 2000s, President Bush signed into law, the infanticide ban, saying that, if a child is born alive during an abortion, and you leave the child to die, that's an infanticide. As Jill Stanek, the nurse at the time, the nurse in Chicago who discovered this was happening, she was discovering these babies in the soiled linen closet. That was kind of like a definitional ban. It didn't really have any teeth to it. So Republicans have gone back in years past and have said, let's add teeth to this bill. Let's make it, you're criminally liable as an abortionist, as a worker in an abortion facility, if you do not administer life-sustaining care to children born alive accidentally during an abortion. And, you have to call the ER, you have to transport them to the hospital, you have to administer oxygen. The abortion industry does not want to talk about this. They didn't want to talk about it. So last year we tried to get Nancy Pelosi. It passed in the House a couple years ago when Republicans controlled the House, but we couldn't get past the Senate because in the Senate, as you all know, has a filibuster and you had to have 60 votes, and we couldn't get past the filibuster. So now that Republicans don't control the House, we've been trying to get Nancy Pelosi to bring this up for a vote. You can't just bring things up for a vote in the House. The majority determines what gets voted on. Except there's a little rule called the discharge petition, where if you get 218 members of the House of Representatives to in person go down and sign the discharge petition, it will force the Speaker of the House to list the bill for a vote. So we need to get 218 members of the House of Representatives to sign this discharge petition saying, I want a vote on the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. We have 213 as of this week. There was just a member sworn in. We have 213 Republican members of the U.S. House of Representatives. We should be able to get all 213 members to sign the discharge petition for the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act. We need 5 Democrats. Doesn't seem like a lot. 5 Democrats. Even if you're pro-choice, even if you support abortion, this is kind of a common sense thing that, children who survive an abortion accidentally, they should get life-sustaining care. Sounds simple, right? Not so simple. Because once again, they do not want to talk about their extremism. If they vote for this bill, it will signal to the world, and this is why they won't sign it. This is why they won't support it. This is why Nancy Pelosi won't bring it up for a vote. If they sign onto this bill, which I would say that majority of the Democrats, even the pro-choice, abortion-supporting Democrats in the House, they would agree, if they were faced with that situation when someone said, here's a baby that just survived an abortion, what do? They would want to administer care to that child because, they still have their humanity for most of them. They can't advance this bill because they can't admit what late-term abortion does. They cannot admit that there are actual survivors of abortion. That would be a death blow to, their rhetoric, their messaging. So this is why this bill is so important, because babies are dying. Every year, about 11,000 to 12,000 children are killed via abortion in late-term situations. So that's about 1.2 to 1.3% babies. According to the Alan Guttmacher Institute, the research arm of the abortion industry named after eugenicist, the second president of Planned Parenthood, Alan Guttmacher. So 11 to 12,000 babies die because of late-term abortions. We know from a Charlotte Institute study that just in 4 states that force abortionists to document these cases, 33 babies died of infanticide after abortion in recent years. That's from Arizona, Texas, Minnesota, and Florida. That's in 2019 and 2020. We know babies are being born alive during late-term abortions because these are children who can survive outside of the womb. You can meet people like Melissa Oden, Claire Caldwell, the folks in the Abortion Survivors Network. But the abortion industry can't let this bill go forward because they can't admit that they're killing babies that can survive outside the womb, that sometimes survive outside of the womb. So this is huge. We need you all to get active, calling your representatives. telling them to sign on to the discharge petition. That's the language you need to use. Sign on to the discharge petition for the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. I'm going to quickly name some Democrats who represent pretty Republican, pretty conservative districts who say that they're moderate on the issue of abortion, who need to be called, who need to have their office or district office visited, who need to be emailed. Sharice Davis, Harry Kular, Brendan Boyle, Connor Lamb, Jared Golden, Abigail Spanberger, Stephanie Murphy, Fielman Vila, Vincente Gonzalez, Leslie Fletcher, Terry Swill, Cindy Axney, Sherry Bustos, Matt Cartwright. If any of those names sound familiar to you, if those are your House of Representatives members, you need to be on the phone, you need to be emailing, you need to be visiting their office telling them, sign the discharge petition. This is a sad state of affairs in our country when you think about we can't even get Democrats now to agree with us that abortion survivors deserve life-sustaining care. They deserve oxygen. They deserve a chance at life. This should be a brainless issue. Every single member of the House of Representatives should be lining up to sign this discharge petition, but they're not. The abortion lobby is a powerful, powerful beast, and they know that admitting this, that they're committing abortions on children who can survive outside the womb, that they're committing abortions after a child has been born, committing infanticide, letting a child die, they know that's not going to play well in the court of public opinion, and they can't let that happen. And that is just how powerful their grip is on Washington, D.C., that even these Democrat members, like I said, I think if you would talk to them, they would say, oh, of course a child should get life-sustaining care, but they are not courageous enough to attach their name to a discharge petition because that's how much they fear the abortion lobby. You need to make them fear us in the pro-life movement more. All right? All right, now the bad news. And I only have a couple of minutes, so it won't be as dire, but it's bad. And I hope you understand just how bad this is. I did an Instagram live on this situation earlier this week. I did a webcast with U.S. Senator Steve Daines on this. And if you didn't watch the webcast on Monday night on Facebook, make sure you go to Students for Life Action's Facebook page and watch the webcast with Senator Steve Daines immediately because I need your help here. So the FDA, during COVID, American College of OBGYNs, a rabidly pro-choice organization, don't ask me how these OBs are pro-choice, they've been taken over, it's terrible, sued the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that's under the Department of Health and Human Services, to ease all restrictions on chemical abortion drugs, saying it was unfair to force women to go into an abortion facility to have an abortion. These drugs should be able to be administered over the internet and mailed to patients to prevent her from maybe getting COVID at the abortion facility. These drugs are deadly. They're actually more deadly than surgical abortions. About 5 to 8% of women who have these abortions still have to get a surgical abortion because they produce incomplete abortions. We know about 6% of women who have these abortions, 6 to 8% of the women end up in the emergency room with complications. This is a nasty, nasty drug. Not only does it end the life of preborn children, but it can and has ended the life of several women in America. Over 24 women that we know of, which, by the way, we don't have a national abortion reporting law. So we actually don't even know a lot of these complications. If a woman goes into an ER with severe bleeding, we're not, there's no law saying you have to say, oh, yeah, it was because she had an incomplete abortion at the Planned Parenthood. This is a bad thing to ease up these restrictions. What's so interesting is this is the abortion industry, ACOG. They're like an arm of the abortion industry now, sadly. This is ACOG. This wasn't a group of patients suing the FDA for access to kill their children easier, via webcam. This was the abortion industry saying, hey, ease up restrictions, make it easier for us to commit abortions, make it cheaper, quite frankly, to commit abortions. And trust us, it's okay. That is like the tobacco industry going to Congress saying, we don't need those nasty warnings on the cigarette labels and on the cigarette boxes. Like, we don't need those warnings anymore. Trust us. We'll tell our patients, we'll tell our clients what happens when they smoke cigarettes. Just trust us. What? That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. The abortion industry tells the FDA that they have to ease up restrictions because they've got this. And they're going to use COVID, and they are using COVID as an excuse. And the FDA is actually using its authority under COVID not to have to go through a public commenting period, not to solicit feedback from the American people. But they've already done this. They've eased up all the restrictions. So as of now, a woman can order RU46 chemical abortion pill cocktail via webcam. Her doctor can be in California, she can be in Mississippi, and they can mail it to her without even a blood test to make sure she isn't Rh negative, without confirming she's pregnant, without confirming the age of her child, without confirming that her child isn't in an ectopic pregnancy, which can kill her. I mean, there are serious side effects that they don't even care about. I would debate an abortionist earlier this past fall for a medical school group in New York, and I actually asked the abortionist about this Rh negative situation. So if a woman is Rh negative, if she's Rh negative and she has an abortion, if she has a miscarriage, if she gives birth, she may never be able to carry to term another child again after her first child. So if a woman's Rh negative, has an abortion, doesn't know she's Rh negative, and doesn't get this, it's called a Rogan shot. It goes in your butt. I heard it's very painful. If you don't get this medicine while you're pregnant or immediately after you have an abortion or you give birth, you may never be able to carry another child to term ever again. And I asked an abortionist about this earlier this fall, and I said, what's going on with this? What's the deal? And she said, well, we have some studies from Europe saying it's not really a problem. That was it. That was literally the scientific answer that I got. It's not really a problem. Why? Because the abortion industry does not care if she can never have children again. They really don't care. In fact, it probably completes their population control, their eugenics mission that was laid out by Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Chemical abortion pills are horrific. They're horrific abortions. Go to thisischemicalabortion.com. If you sign our petition actually to President Biden on this issue, you will get an immediate download of a book we put together this summer where we just went to chat rooms. Our team's been going to chat rooms, talking with women who are concerned about their pregnancy or considering abortion, need help, offering support, and we were overwhelmed with the number of women who, without prompting, were going to pregnancy chat rooms across the internet and telling their stories about chemical abortions and how horrific they are. In fact, there were so many, we gathered them up, put them in a 70-page book so you can read their stories. So if you go to thisIsChemicalAbortion.com, sign our petition to President Biden telling him this is a grave mistake, and then download the book and read it. And spread that book far and wide. Send it to your members of Congress. Send it to your senators. There's a SAVE Act that Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi has introduced that would ban the online sale of these drugs. Students for Life has been working with our friends at Susan B. Anthony List. We wrote a piece of legislation to ban the sale of these drugs online that we've actually been trying to get passed in states. Montana has been the first state this spring to actually pass it. It's going to be signed into law very soon by the pro-life governor there. We've got about 11 other states. We also have other states that we've proposed our own legislation that just bans these drugs outright. This is unbelievable. You think about the abortion industry. They're always saying that abortion should be between a woman and her doctor. That's not it. Now abortion's between her and her, Amazon delivery driver, in between her and her computer. And it's certainly, that whole safe, legal, and rare mantra. We know they got rid of rare because they can't, we've talked about that before, why they can't say abortion should be rare now. So now on campuses, I see protest signs, abortion safe and legal. Now they don't even want abortions to be safe. We're the ones in the pro-life movement, from the abortion industry, the the argument we always hear is that we don't care about women, that we are advocating for, the reversal of Roe to make abortion illegal because we don't care about women, because if abortion was made illegal, thousands of women would die every year from back alley abortions. One, that's not true. We've talked about that before. That is a myth. It is a myth. And Planned Parenthood's own statisticians, actually said that. That is a myth. But we're the ones saying, wait a minute, back up here. We're against chemical abortion because every single chemical abortion, just like every single surgical abortion, ends the life of a unique, whole, living human being. But shouldn't everyone, even if those who disagree with us about abortion, be also against chemical abortion because it can kill women? It can maim women. It can make women infertile. Now they don't even want it to be safe. They just want it legal. I mean, we saw this a couple years ago with the Texas case in 2013 from the Supreme Court, and Planned Parenthood was fighting against common sense safety standards, like, I don't know, hallways being wide enough for gurneys to get through for EMTs in case something went wrong. They said that was unfair, and it put an undue burden on the right to abortion. And they literally argued in front of the Supreme Court that access trumps safety. Well, they've done it again, guys. And right now, we can't do much about it because elections have consequences, and the Biden administration is using their special powers given to them in COVID to say that's it. But we have to keep beating the drum on this. You've got to contact your senators, tell them to vote for the SAVE Act. Contact your U.S. House of Representatives member, tell them that they need a SAVE Act over in the House that's introduced to ban the sale of these dangerous chemical abortion drugs. You need to be telling the Biden administration this is abortion extremism, that the majority of Americans, even those who call themselves pro-choice, do not want this, and to stop caving to the abortion lobby. As soon as these COVID restrictions and all these COVID rules that allow the government to do whatever the hell they want, as soon as that's lifted, there should be an open commenting period that comes up. We all need to be being very, very loud about this. And you all need to be paying attention, because this is a reshaping of an entire abortion industry that we're witnessing right now. Because they know these, brick and mortar abortion facilities that can be protested, that have prayer warriors in front of them, that turns away business. They know these shoddy abortion facilities do these dirty, violent surgical abortions. They know majority of Americans don't want that. We also know from the NAF, National Abortion Federation, undercover recordings that David DeLine Center for Medical Progress released, that now David's being sued about, and it's a crazy case. I need to have David on to explain all the insanity happening there. But we know from NAF's the undercover tapes from their own NAF conference, the abortion industry said to themselves that the biggest dirty secret that they have right now, that if the antis ever knew that they could exploit, is that they don't know what to do with all the bodies. That's their biggest problem, is disposing of all the bodies of the children they abort. This solves their problem, because women they're telling women just abort in their toilet bowl. Don't, flush, don't look down. We have to speak up. We have to keep being louder and louder about this, because it's coming to a school near you, a college campus near you. It's coming to a CVS near you. And now it's on every single computer, every single phone. So don't give up. Keep talking about this. We have some really neat project coming out with Students for Life in the next couple of weeks on chemical abortion. I'll be releasing that to you all soon. But I wanted to get this information to you today. As you can tell, my text messaging sound keeps going off. I can't stop it because our day is crazy at Students for Life. But I wanted to get you all this information. Hopefully it was helpful. Make sure you follow Students for Life of America's Facebook page. We're putting up blogs every day, links to articles that you need to know about on all three of these situations: the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act discharge petition, the case in Ohio, the discriminatory abortion ban that's just been upheld, and now chemical abortion being allowed to be sold and distributed via webcam, via the mail. All right, lots to do, guys. Get on with it. Have a great day. Save some babies. Bye.